Hi. Um, my name is Paweł Lewtak, and recently I joined a company called GOG.com. Who of you knows this company? Okay, at least few people. Who of you identifies yourself as a gamer? Okay, so quite more people. So GOG.com is an online platform where you can buy games. The main feature is that games are DRM-free. And once you buy them, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. But most of you are not gamers, so you're mostly interested in the backend part, I would say. So for GOG, we're using PHP, CQRS, event sourcing, microservices, and many other stuff. The cool thing is that we're using also PHP for backend for one of our games, Gwent, the virtual card game. We have a few microservices for matchmaking, rankings, and so on. It's really cool stuff. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. These are some screenshots of operating systems I used in the past. Who of you recognizes the first one in the upper left? Okay, so few people. So you're officially old. That one is Workbench. It's an operating system for Amiga computers back in the 80s, 90s. And I could say I used most operating systems. I've been through almost every Windows, except for Millennium. And right now, I could use anything really. It doesn't matter to me whether it's macOS, Windows, Linux, the other Unix. I can work, if I have tools I like, I can work with any of them. It doesn't really matter. So along operating system, that's changed 3 years. Another thing that changed was IDE. I used first one I used in the upper left corner. It's a Polish application called Pajączek. Basically, it was HTML generator. It created a website given a few inputs. And on the bottom right, you can see Phpstorm, basically IDE I'm using every day. At the moment, it's the most powerful, the fastest, has all the features. So it was really long road until I came to the best IDE I could use to get comfortable with any system I could use. But through all these years, I didn't much use command line tools. It was a bit complicated, maybe a bit scary. Yeah, I could SSH to remote server, copy some files, edit some files, but not really much more than that. So I wanted to talk to you about command line tools, mostly, not only. And there's this one rule about live talks that you're not supposed to do live demos, and I'm going to do a lot of them later on. But let's first start with a tool called Tmax. Who of you recognizes this name? Okay, a few people. So Tmax is a terminal multiplexer. Multiplexer means basically that you can open multiple sessions in one window. And if you used Screen before, Screen is basically used for keeping some long-running process in the background, so you don't have to keep terminal open with some application. Just log in to server, runs application using Screen, then detach from it and go on with your other work. So Tmax is improved Screen. It has less bugs, it has more features, it's still actively developed. Quite cool feature related to Tmax is that you're able to connect to one session from different computers. So if you want to do pair programming with somebody who works remotely, it's perfect for that. It works on any operating system out there, maybe except the Windows. Haven't tried it. So I'm not going to bore you with some details you can see on the slide. I just want to show you a live demo of Tmax in a second. Installation of it is pretty simple in any system. Just use your package manager, install Tmax. Oh, there's a spelling mistake, would be Tmax instead of tax. So anyway, demo. You see it? Cool. So my Tmax is a bit configured. It's not the default look you would see, but quite similar. So once you run Tmax, on the bottom you have status bar. Starting from the left, you can see the session name, which is 0 in this case, because I didn't give any specific name when I created it. Then you have tabs for separate windows with its name, and on the right, whatever you want to be there, whatever you want to configure, it will be there. So let's start with changing the name of the session. Yeah, so we have okay. That's the problem with live demos. Okay, it works. So we could create more windows, just like that. And whenever something happens in other window you have opened, you can see it's highlighted on the bottom. The white background in this case means that something happened in there. It's just that show that started, so nothing really interesting. But we could change the window name like this. And then we could either navigate directly between windows or use something like this, where you can see all the opened windows if you have a lot of them and they don't fit into the screen. So, like I said, it's similar to screen, so you could detach from it. It works in the background. We could create, without any parameters, it just attaches you to single running session. Okay. Yeah, and just like that, we created another session of Tmax. You could obviously switch between them without leaving your session. Yeah, there's a lot of shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts you could use. It could be all listed. You can see what's possible with Tmax, what action you have mapped to what key. You can easily map it with config file. What else Tmax does? Cool feature. Well, it looks cool, but it doesn't really have much use cases. I can show you in a second. The best one I use all the time is splitting the screen. You can split the screen vertically, horizontally, move between screens, run some command here, move here, and run Vim. And it's really cool because you can have multiple things opened at once. Let's say we want to do something in Vim, focus on that window, work a bit, then switch back to whole Windows view. And yeah, the cool but not so useful feature I was talking about is pane synchronization. So whenever I type something, it's being sent to all the open panes. Pane is a window, part of the window you can see. So it works like that. Yeah, obviously it doesn't work good for Vim, but it could be used whenever you want to do something on two machines and send commands to both of them simultaneously. at the same time and see the output, compare how it differs. It could be used in that case. Yeah. Okay. How to quit Vim? Okay, so that's that's Tmax, and the cool thing is that you can set up your workflow in Tmax, run some applications. What I do most of the time is execute in one part of the window shell, and the other one I have preview of the logs. So I run some commands, see what's happening inside. I don't have to switch windows, do something in other application. It's on single screen. And the bigger screen you have, the more sense it makes to split it into several panes. So the next tool related to Tmax is Tmaxinator. I'll show you in a second. Others like Tmosio or Tmaxomatic are basically same thing written in different language, maybe with a bit different approach. So let's get to that. Okay. Tmaxinator, new test. So whenever you start Tmaxinator, you need to define how you want your session to look like. And this is the default template. You need to provide a path where you wanted to start your session. You can, but don't have to provide one comment that is run before everything else, like make sure some server is accessible, internet connection is working, whatever you need, basically. Other interesting things is that you can define what kind of command could be executed once all the windows are set in place. And that's what you can see on the bottom is the most interesting thing. That's where you define how your windows should look like. So in here we have we have 3 windows. In first one we have some kind of editor with a display split it vertically with Vim and guard, and second some raise application and logs in the third one. I prepared previously Laracon application with some Laravel application with a layout. Like I said before, in the first part we have application running with Artisan, and in the second one we have logs to see if it's working correctly. So to run it, we just type Tmaxinator, Laracon, and it starts. And you can work it from here. Let's try it out. Some missing URL, not handled. You can see it shows up in the logs. If you need to browse the logs, you can switch only to this part of the window, then go back, run some other command, and so on. Yeah. So I know it maybe is quite small, but slides will be later online. And if you don't want to Google up all the resources, all the manuals, and so on, you can check the slides later and read all the resources about Tmax and Tmaxinator. So next tool I want to talk about is Z-shell. Who of you is using Z-shell right now? Whoa, quite a lot of people. Is anybody using any other shell than Z-shell and Bash? Like fish, yeah. Okay, few people. So fish and Z-shell are quite similar. Let's start by showing you what Z can. Installation is basically similar to Tmax. You use your package manager, install Z. And what I'm going to show you as well is a package of configuration that is called Oh My Z. It has a lot of prepared plugins, themes, and so on that you can use instead of writing them by yourself from scratch. So live demo. I'm going to use not that one. I want to use Tmax to show you all the features and compare it to Bash. So you can see what kind of advantage you can get when you switch to Z. So first of all, there's a folder with Laravel application that I have prepared. It's called just Laracon, and it works. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, just a second. Yeah, much better. Okay, so again, I have a folder called Laracon. I press tab, and it autocompletes to the name that is matching. Cool, right? But you know about this. Inside this, I have another folder, another two folders with applications. And when I press tab again, it just lists all the files, all the folders inside. It's not really useful because I can't change directory into a file. So it's not that useful here. In Z, it works like this. Like an example. Oh, sorry, that's not what I want to show. When I press tab, it shows me only folders because I can change directory into a directory and not file. So it doesn't make sense to suggest a file name in this case. And if that's not enough, I could just navigate through the list and see what works for me best. Another cool feature when it comes to navigating folders is that I could provide just part of the folder names. I don't have to write the full name. In this case, I have only one path that matches this the thing I typed. So after I press tab, it automatically expands to the full path. That's a really big time saver. So another thing, history. In Bash, the best way to find some command in history is to press Ctrl-R and start typing, right? It works in most cases, not in all of them. In case of Z shell, you just type the start of the command, and then using up and down arrows, you can see the history for this command. So again, it saves us a bit time when working with folders and files. Let's say there's some application that misbehaves in the background, or you don't know how to quit, like Vim. So in Bash, you would do something like this. You would use kill command to kill the application. And after you press tab, it suggests file names and folders in current scope. Not really useful, right? So you would need to call ps, and then grab with Vim. And then on the left, you have process ID that you need to use to kill the process. In Z shell, you just write kill Vim, and after pressing tab, it expands to the process ID. Cool, right? And if you don't know you don't have just one process running, or you want to find the one specific process, it just kill tab. Yeah, we want to all. And you can, again, navigate to the list of processes with parameters and everything. And so you are sure which one you want to kill. So let's kill Vim finally. Yay. Another one. When you work with Unix systems, you have permissions to folders, to files, and so on. Let's say I want to change attributes for Laracon. And when I press tab in Bash, again, it lists folders and file names in current scope. In Zshow, it suggests you some options that you have. Like it's same with changing the owner. It suggests the possible options that are valid, and you can again navigate through all the options. That's really cool. So let's go to the Laracon. Oh, we're there. Okay. Nope, not this one. There's another one. Okay. So in Bash, you get basically nothing there. In Zshow, when you go into directory that holds some Git repository, you can have additional information in prompt. That in this case, you're in a Git directory, and here we are in master branch. One of the plugins for Zshow that is contained in my Zshow package gives you a lot of support for Git, like this. It's not only Git, but many applications are supported. We want to run some command, not sure which one, so after pressing tab and after typing some letters, pressing tab, you get auto-completion again with some explanation what this command does exactly. And when we want to check out, I press tab again, and I have available branches. So again, big time saver. And let's say I want to create some file, and you can notice that a small cross appeared there in the prompt. This cross means that repository I'm working on is dirty. There are some changes that are not tracked. Something is not committed or not stashed. So again, you get extra information without really looking for it. Okay. One more thing regarding navigation between folders. Okay, so we're in this directory. And let's say we want to switch my app to example app and be in the same directory again. In case of Bash, we would do something like this. Right, and auto-completion doesn't work. Oh. Okay, one more. And finally, we're there. In case of Zshow, it works like this. Okay, so I'm in my app folder, and I want to change that to example. And like that, I'm in example app. What it did is it substituted the first part with the second part in the path. If there's more than one matching path, it won't work. But if there's only one, well, it's another another cool feature. So Zshow has more features like autocorrection. Like say, I want to call PHP 7.2. Command not found. Oh. Oh, there you go. It notices that what you typed is it contains an error, like typo, and asks you whether you want to change it to correct name or not. press yes, and it should call the correct command. Okay, somehow it doesn't in this case. So moving on. Let's say you want to find some files, like all the XML files. Does anybody know how to do it in Bash? Okay, one yes. So in Bash, it's something like this. It actually lists all the directories with some directories. There you go. It works, but is it easy to remember? Is it user-friendly? Not really. So what Zisha offers instead is something like this. You just recursively want to find all directories. And it works, just like that. If you want to find, let's say, all YAM files, you just go like this, and there you go. There's your answer. There's a lot of plugins for this show. You can see all of them on GitHub. I haven't counted, but it's more than 100. You can customize visual themes to different colors, different prompts, fonts, whatever you want to do. It's probably been done by somebody before. Yeah, there are some alternatives to OMI Zisho I showed you. One of them is Antigen, second one is Presto. It's basically the same features in both cases. It just handled a bit differently. It's just a matter of personal preferences, I would say, which one you want to use. And there's also Phpstorm that has most of these features out of the box with a GUI interface for configuration. Personally, I like Zisho better. I guess it gives you more power over what you want to have in terms of features. So again, there's a link of useful resources you could use later. Next concept I want to show you quickly is dot files. Who of you is using dot files personally? Okay, quite a few people. For those of you who don't know, dot files are configuration files that you have in your home directory that starts with a dot, like dot vimrc or dot bash rc. Most command line tools in Unix have configuration files, and they are called dot files. So concept of personal dot files is that you keep a Git repository on GitHub, GitLab, whatever you want, with all your configuration files. And with that, you can simply check out the repository with some script. You can replace all the configurations, and just like that, have a configuration that you're familiar with, all the keyboard shortcuts you configured previously. I will show you this with my example. So in my repository, I have just a few files and one install script that just replaces all the configuration with what is contained in this repository. So that way, whenever I get a new laptop, new computer, new server to manage, I just check out this repository, type install.sh, and voila, I have all my configuration. I feel like at home. And the cool side effect of that is that you can see what others shared in dot files on their GitHub repositories mostly. There's thousands, I would say, repositories with dot files that you could use. See how other people configured their Tmaxes, their Zishos, their applications. You can discover what kind of applications other people are using, learn from them, and improve your toolset, not only limit yourself to Bash. The best resource for that is .files GitHub IO. Is a page that explains you the concept of .files, lists all the most popular repositories on GitHub as well. So that's the best place to start with that. There are other tools. I don't think I have time to show you all of them, but quickly, just a few. So there's this thing called AutoJump. What it does, it learns history of folders you visit. And based on that, and let's say you want to type a few letters. I want to go to my example application in Laravel. I don't want to type the full path or just the first letters of directories. I type something like this. And based on my history, it knows, OK, you want to go to this place. It's a simple app, but it's a really big time saver. Another one is really nice if you want to do HG. It's Civil Searcher. It's really useful if you want to find something in command line and don't want to remember all the bash commands to find something within files. So just like that, it lists all the uses of user words with file name and line with highlighted use of that word. So again, pretty cool. Ranger is a really nice replacement for Midnight Commander. I've been used to Midnight Commander for years, but Ranger is, I would say, better. First of all, it has one pane, one window. You navigate it like that. You have preview of the files. You go left and right. When you go right deeper, it just opens a default editor with the file you have highlighted. It has as well a lot of plugins to preview images, to preview different types of files. Mosh is a mobile shell. It's really useful if you want to run shell on your laptop using cellular network, and you are in some place with poor coverage. So once you get disconnected, mobile shell makes sure that you start from the same place. It connects back automatically, and you start working in the place where you got disconnected. So another time saver. JRC is something that colors your logs, but output of applications as well. Let me show you it real quick. I don't have it enabled by default. So let's list all the files. And you can see the permissions on the left are colored. You can run PS to list all processes. And again, the process ID and some parameters are colored, so it's much easier to read it that way. In Bash, it will be just something like this. Not really that exciting. Or yeah, just white text on black background. And Vim, I find Vim quite useful, but that's something I'm still trying to learn, as you can see. So moving on. Phpstorm. I wanted to consolidate all command line tools, but there are 3 really useful things in Phpstorm if you're using it that are extremely useful. First thing I should say at the beginning is that I find using only keyboard the most productive for me. If I don't have to switch over to mouse or touchpad, it feels good, basically. So starting from the bottom, there's this plugin called Key Promoter X, and what it does is it reminds you that there already is some predefined shortcut for what you want to do. So whenever I do something in the lower right you can see that there's some reminder that, hey, you could do this with a shortcut. Don't do this. You already did this 30 times. So it's really cool way to learn all the shortcuts there are. Another thing, productivity guide, is something that is built in. Maybe you don't know about this. It's hidden over here. Probably you can see it. But what it does, it lists all the features there are in Phpstorm and have some shortcut assigned. So it shows you how many times you used some feature. Like in this case, I'm using go to declaration most often. But there's a lot of features built in Phpstorm that I have never used. And here I can see what is possible with this tool, what kind of features I could use more. And the last one regarding Phpstorm is PHP inspections EA extended. And that's something that saves you from doing stupid mistakes. Okay, you can see it. So basically, it's just a set of additional inspections, checks for your code. In this case, it tells you not to use count in for loop because it's another function call, another computation you have to do at each loop entry. A few more examples. In this case, you can see that it works and some inspections is fired by code that is highlighted, underlined. Sorry. Like in this case, we could safely merge two ifs together. We don't need to split it into separate statements to make it more readable. Another one. Sorry. Oh. In this case, we're calling some array merge and replace in for loop, which is very expensive operation, very costly and time consuming. We should not do that. And it figures out things like that and badges you to things you to fix it, to do it in some other way. And it even works with regular expressions. So if it's possible that expression doesn't match anything or it's not valid, it will be highlighted with some suggestion how to solve it. In some cases, you can use autocomplete option to use suggested solution. And yeah, we made it. I showed you all the tools I wanted to show you. If you want to know more, please talk to me later and try to improve your tools you're using for everyday development. Don't stay with what you are using and you've been using for years. Try to see maybe there's some new tool, new IDE, or something else that will help you day to day. Okay, so thank you very much.